going to finish by looking back on who had the best year in Arizona politics and who had the worst. And Don, coming to you for the first one here, let's get your take. Who do you think had the best year in Arizona politics looking back?
My pick for best year is Ruben Gallego. He got to announce his candidacy in January for an election practically 2 years in the future, and he has had this entire year to essentially run with no competition. Certainly no one from inside the party, but also no declared candidate from the Republican side, and an incumbent who doesn't want to talk about whether she wants to keep the job or not. So he has had all this time to introduce himself to voters on his own terms, have nobody else as Senate candidates vying for those LD meetings and Rotary Club meetings. He's been all over the state. He's managed to raise $10 million already. So he has really made the most of this year. This is the year of Ruben.
The year of Ruben. All right. And I'll come to you. Who do you think had the best year in Arizona politics?
Well, it's clearly Paul Penzone and Debbie Lesko, because they're getting out.
Jeez, you're so pessimistic, Marcus.
But in all seriousness, Kimberly Yee had probably the best year for Republicans. I mean, she's the top vote getter for Republicans in what was an onslaught statewide win by Democrats. So from a Republican standpoint, I think she's got the most to tout.
Yeah, and I think, again, she was the highest vote getter, I think, in the ballot in 2022.
Yep.
And she's kind of like the example of when you talk about Arizona still being kind of a Republican-leaning state, you look at Kimberly Yee, it was just a straight vote there, like a partisan vote, and she was able to dispatch her Democratic opponent last year pretty easily.
I find it interesting that the best year for a Republican is that no one is talking about you. So I really think in this day and age that says a lot.
All right. Any honorable mentions here before we get on to, I'm sure, what everybody wants to hear is who had the worst year? Yeah. Any honorable mentions?
Honorable mentions for best or worst?
For best.
For best. Reproductive rights. I mean, when you put reproductive rights, when you put pro-reproductive rights candidates all over the country, you see wins. And I think how that relates to Arizona is that we'll be having one coming up in the coming year, and that shows a lot of momentum.
And Marcus?
Probably, Ben Toma and Warren Peterson working in divided government. For Ben, it's obviously ESAs and being able to keep that intact, much to Dawn's chagrin. So I don't want her to hit me across the table. But I think that was a huge victory. And for Mr. Peterson's, being able to work in divided government and put together a budget that works even for the Democratic governor.
All right, let's get down to brass tacks, as they say. Who do you think had the worst year in politics, Don?
Oh, I have a few. I hope that's okay.
Oh, no, please, go ahead.
Okay, so, well, I'm gonna carve out Democrats and Democratic priorities had a good year, but President Biden is not having the best year. I think even though he has had many accomplishments, the Inflation Reduction Act and all kinds of things that are helping people's lives, he is marred with kind of talk about his own vibrancy. Now we have this war that isn't even his own that is causing infighting inside of his own party, and what accomplishments there are, which are numerous for Democrats, he's having a hard time tying to himself. And so anytime you've got your own party saying, is this really what we're doing? That isn't ideal. Do I get to go on?
You get to go on, and you said you had a few.
Yeah, please,
so
if you keep going down this road, I'll have to
making Marcus' job a lot easier here.
No, I just want, Ebenezer Scrooge and Clark Griswold have taught us that the holidays are a time of self-reflection. So in that spirit, I wanted to share some of that. But my other one is kind of an interesting one, which is the Arizona Coyotes, who spent the first part of the year, kind of making bullies of themselves against Tempe voters. They, threatened to sue a bunch of residents. They called the cops on some kids with sidewalk chalk, and then went on to spectacularly lose the vote to find a home in Tempe and continue to struggle to find a home and to fill their tiny arena. And so no problems with hockey, but you can't deny that was a bad year.
It was a big loss. You had a central role in that as well.
I did.
And so that was a big loss. Marcus, who do you got? Worst year in politics?
Well, obviously I need to agree with her on Joe Biden, but I think,
You're obligated.
From an Arizona standpoint, I think there's any doubt Liz Harris had probably one of the toughest years. kicked out of the legislature is sort of never a good look. Although the bar to get kicked out of the legislature is that now we're doing it pretty much on a yearly basis, so it's getting lower, but certainly a tough year for her.
Any honorable mentions on that front?
No. She stole all mine. She's great.
Yeah, no, it's really good. I also thought it was like kind of a tough year. I think you're seeing Representative Sun at the legislature. She's a Democrat.
She's about to have a tough year.
Ending the year pretty tough right now. There's a lot of serious allegations about that. She has refuted most of them now, but it looks like an ethics hearing is coming. What's the latest you've heard on that?
I don't think she can avoid one. I think it's coming. There's no doubt about it. And what's interesting about this is Democrats have been voicing their own concern with their own member of their own caucus and going to Republican leadership and saying, look, we got a problem. I think it's frankly, it's somewhat of a grown-up way of dealing with the situation. I've got a member of my own party, and we've got some issues and we need to deal with them.
All right, I think it's about all the time we have this week to do this, but I'm going to end up, we got about 30 seconds. Since it's the Thanksgiving show, we're going into the holiday season. What's your favorite holiday movie? You brought this up with the Griswolds earlier, just a minute ago.
Yeah, I don't know if you can beat Christmas Vacation. That's a pretty good one.
Well, my actual favorite is The Muppet Christmas Carol.
You can't go
Specifically
wrong.
the
You can't go wrong with the Muppets.
No.
I don't know. I like I like Trading Places with Eddie Murphy for some reason.
Is that a Christmas movie now?
I don't know if it is. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Yes.
Oh no. We'll be debating this for an hour.
Let's come back. Let's come back next week. We'll have a whole show on whether Die Hard is a Christmas movie.